everyone, welcome or welcome back to the Marketing Nomad YouTube channel. Today we're doing a tarot deck review, and the deck that I have for you is the First Aid for Broken Hearts Tarot, written and illustrated by Nonara. Now this deck was kindly gifted to me by Sacred Scribe Publishing, and I just wanted to say a very big thank you to them for sending this deck over for me to review. Now, in today's deck review, here's what you can expect. First off, I'm going to be reading from what is written at the back of the deck box. After that, I'm going to be shifting the camera angle, and we are going to be getting into my thoughts about this particular deck and my experience connecting with the energy of this particular deck. All right, so without further ado, let's get into what is written at the back of the deck box. So it says, First Aid for Broken Hearts Tarot, compassionate insight for solace and guidance through healing. Being heartbroken is a perplexing experience, often leaving us with limited mental and intellectual resources to navigate the grief. Much like reaching for a first aid kit to address physical wounds and to stop the bleeding, this deck is crafted with the same intention to bring you solace and support during challenging times, akin to a patch and go first aid kit for the heart. Whether you are well versed in the realm of divination or a novice exploring the mystical world of tarot, this compassionate tool serves as an unwavering source of inspiration and visual affirmation. This is by Sacred Scribe Publishing. All right, this is a very, very beautiful and deeply inspiring deck. I cannot wait to share my thoughts with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the camera angle and let's get into today's tarot deck review. So this is what the box of the deck looks like. Now, I, for one, couldn't wait to get my hands on this particular deck because honestly, just the title alone spoke to me. Tarot at its core has always been a tool for reflection, for guidance, and yes, of course, sometimes for comfort as well. And when you put those qualities in a deck that is literally designed as a first aid kit for the heart, I knew it was going to be something very unique. Now, the name alone sets the stage. First Aid for Broken Hearts. It tells you even before you see a single card that this deck has a mission, and that mission is to tend to emotional wounds. To me, I felt that this deck was extremely approachable. Even if you are brand new to tarot, the energy of the deck is very gentle and inviting. Do you see the minty green edges? Yeah, to me, I thought that they gave such a soothing aura to the deck as well. I love how unapologetically clear the theme of the deck is. I mean, this isn't a deck that's trying to be everything to everyone. It has a focus and it commits to it. The concept of this particular deck is that tarot, which traditionally has been used for divination and guidance, can also be used as a form of emotional triage. When your heart is aching, when you've been through a breakup, loss, or even, just the gentle bruises of life, this deck is strong enough to give you comfort. What makes the concept especially powerful is the way the cards are designed to be both intuitive as well as supportive. So think of it like a bandage, something that's simple, direct, and immediately helpful as well. The guidebook expands on the quotes that are there on each card, but you don't really need to be an advanced tarot reader to start pulling each card and to feel their impact. What I think makes this particular deck work so well is that it acknowledges something that is very, very universal. Everyone, at some point, goes through heartbreak. And having a deck specifically designed to guide you through those times feels revolutionary in its own quiet way. I've always felt that tarot was a kind of self-care, and I feel the essence of this deck really aligns with that concept. Now let's talk a little bit about the artwork. As you can see, it is very surreal. It is very dreamlike in its style, soft, almost watercolor-like in its palette, and the symbolism of heartbreak is subtle in each of the images, but to me, that's what makes it so powerful. As you can see, the color palette leans towards pastels and muted shades, which makes the deck feel very soothing to look at. There's no harshness over here, and I feel that truly aligns with possibly the mental and emotional and even physical state that we often are in when we are in pain. And I think that this helps to soothe when you are in pain. The artwork, the style of the cards has been intentionally picked out to bring comfort when you are in pain. And that's something that I found very intentional, and I absolutely loved that the artist, Nonara, has taken so much into consideration while she was designing this particular deck. Even the darker cards, like for example, the Tower or the Ten of Swords, they're also handled with care. They still communicate their meaning, of course, but in a way that brings hope and helps one feel like there are better days coming. To me, the artwork feels like you're kind of stepping into a very dreamlike world where your pain is not only seen, but also soothed. Now let's talk about the cards. Now, in terms of size, the cards are a bit larger than a standard playing card, but it is still manageable. They have enough room for the art to breathe, so they're not oversized. And at the same time, they're not too small where you can't really see the artwork. So that was something that I found was very balanced with this particular deck. Now, the finish is matte, which I personally love. I do collective readings on YouTube, so for me, the matte finish helps to reduce glare while I'm filming or when I'm reading under like different light sources. So that was actually a pro for me in particular, but overall, I like the feel of the cards. It feels very velvety. That's kind of the feel, the texture. And for me, I think the matte finish makes the colors look a little bit more natural, which I think is where the dreamlike artwork feel kind of steps in. Now let's talk about the guidebook, because for a deck like this, I think that there is already so much of information that comes through because of the artwork as well as the quote that is on each of the card. And so I was wondering, okay, well, how is the guidebook going to be? And as I slowly started diving into the guidebook, I realized that there is just a plethora of knowledge and information that is in the guidebook that is so helpful. It is equally, if not more important than the quotes that are written on each card. So I highly recommend taking some time to go through this almost 100-page guidebook. I mean, there is an incredible depth to this particular guidebook. I highly recommend giving it some time. Now, for me, when I was looking at the guidebook, what I loved most was the way that it spoke to me. You know, it felt like I was just having a conversation with someone who cared about me and someone who knew what I was going through. I felt seen with the guidebook. Now, each card's write-up does give you a deeper interpretation of the quote on the card, and I found that it is very calming, very grounding, and it offers a different perspective to what you are experiencing, and more importantly, how to look at your heartbreak as a way to liberate you rather than hold you back. And for me, I think that has been the magic of this particular guidebook. Then I want to talk a little bit about, the symbolism as well as the readability of this particular deck. When you look at a card, you're not actually just seeing an image. Because of the artwork, you actually feel the image. The art kind of bypasses that overthinking part of your mind, and it speaks straight to your heart. And it's not about, memorizing the meaning of the card or getting the right answer. No, I think what the artwork actually does is that it actually helps you slow down and lets you experience whatever emotions or thoughts come up. And that to me has actually been one of the most powerful forms of guidance that you can actually get from this deck, because of course, healing isn't a straight line, and sometimes the best thing that we can do in our healing journey is to just learn to sit with our emotions. And I like that this card doesn't tell you what's happening, but it teaches you how to feel your way through it. And in that process, I feel that this deck is less of a tool and more of a companion on the healing journey. And also, as you can see with the images of this particular deck, it is a deeply inclusive deck as well. Overall, I would say that this deck is an emotional compass, gently guiding you through your healing journey with the clarity that you can rely on. I've done collective readings, private readings for clients, and even personal readings for myself with this particular deck. And one that I loved the most was just picking one card and spending some time with it, and not just absorbing the message of the quote, the energy of the artwork, but also observing how it triggered my mind to reflect. And I found that with this particular deck, the longer I take to reflect, the more layers I find myself uncovering. And that has actually been a very, very beautiful experience for me. So of course, this deck works great with larger spreads as well. But for me in particular, I like doing gentle daily draws with this deck. I found that I get so much more out of this deck with gentle daily draws. And there's just so many messages that come through to me as I reflect upon that card throughout the day. But of course, it does work for larger spreads as well. But just remember, with larger spreads, there's more messages to unpack. So it's important to set aside a good amount of time for that as well. I would recommend this deck to beginners as well as advanced readers. This deck has a very, very specific purpose and it holds itself to it. And it is a great addition to anyone's collection given its unique niche in the tarot world. It leans very deeply into emotional healing. So if you're looking for a tarot deck that can help you on your healing journey, this would be a great one. This is where I will leave you for today. I really hope that this review gave you a good starting point to see if this deck is a good fit for your needs. Thank you for watching all the way up until here. I'll catch you in my next one. Bye-bye.